Hello everyone, we are back for the finale of Doomsmas 2, and this time we're doing a speculation video on the new Doom Eternal video game. We would have loved to have actually made a proper video talking about the game, because it was meant to have come out on November 22nd, but unfortunately it was delayed, so we're just going to talk about what we think is coming out. Joining me this time from last year's Doomsmas.
Hello, I'm Vincent. I'm Daniel's friend. I've done some music for him. And yeah, occasionally I weigh in on Doom-related stuff because I'm a massive fan.
More of an expert on Doom than I am.
At least the earlier Dooms, I've played that stuff since I was a kid, so yeah, I've got a bit of a reference point, I guess, whereas Daniel's just been into it more recently.
It's kind of ironic because I got a comment on our last year's video what a Doom movie should be, and someone was just like, oh, I wish the fucking musician guy would stop like talking so much. Just let the host fucking talk more. I'm like, that's the reason he's here, because he knows more about Doom than I do. So anyway, we are going to be discussing Doom Eternal and what we think the story will be, how the gameplay will handle, and more importantly, how this game has evolved since 1993. Because my god, has it evolved a lot. One of the things of discussion is the story for Doom Eternal, because Doom 2016 has a very vague story. It's very simple. You're trapped on Mars and you have to like make your way out and stop this one villain, that's it. This new game is showing so many new characters, so many different worlds.
I just think that like Doom was never really about the in-depth story. It was more about the gameplay, the environments, and just like the general atmosphere, I guess, of like being in that place and being the Doomslayer, even when it wasn't called that back in the early days.
I think the first fan term was Doom Marine.
Yeah, he actually had a name too, which like was only written in like the booklet of like when you bought the game, and only nerds know that. But generally speaking, the story is super simplistic, just enough to kind of prop up like the whole premise of the game originally. And Doom 2016, although the story was relatively straightforward and they left it to the player to decide whether or not they wanted to delve into what was going on more, it looks like Doom Eternal will probably find a way, from what I've seen, to kind of include more story without being too annoying. Like, so small cutscenes instead of like larger ones seems to be the thing. And if it is a bigger cutscene, it's like to introduce something badass. That's what it seems to be. And I think that like a lot of good Doom or old Doom fans will be fine with that like level. If you have to get to the point where you're having to skip through dialogue and choose different options and make decisions about, you know, how the story's going to go, I don't think that that's like gonna resonate well with the Doom fan base.
Well, that's the interesting thing for me, is there are so many new characters that seem to talk, where the previous game all you get is Vega, Samuel Hayden, and Olivia Pierce.
Yeah.
Where this has so many characters that I don't think are from any pre-existing game. But that's the interesting thing, is how are they going to get exposition and character development out if it's going to stick to the same rules as the previous game?
It seems like it'll be a bit more environmental, but I think some of that will be involuntary, whereas in like Doom 2016, you know, finding secrets or reading through PDFs, or what are they called, PDAs that you find?
Yeah, they all get added to the codex.
Yeah, the codex. So like all that stuff is like extra information in Doom 2016, but I think the creative director of Doom Eternal was saying something along the lines of, he did say something, the environment being a way to tell the story more so, and it seems to be the case in Doom Eternal. It seems like the world itself will be telling more of a story, or you'll see things that kind of indicate that more is going on. So like a good example of that in like the gameplay footage that we've seen is like humans who are not dead or zombified, you know, like kind of shying away from the Doomslayer. Like, it's not so much storytelling as much as it is world building. Like, you realize that there was like an actual company and it wasn't always like totally fucked, or maybe the humans are still doing something to try to like deal with the crisis, other than just like you like turn up as the Doomslayer and that's it. Yeah. Which is how all of the other games have been, pretty much, except for Doom 3, which like, yeah, did start up with like just an invasion, and you did see like living human beings and they were doing stuff other than just, you know, what it ends up becoming when the invasion's over.
Yeah, that's actually one of the fun aspects of this coming from the 2016 game, is the previous game is so claustrophobic and there's no humans around except for zombies. Where this is an opportunity to show you, yes, there's still humans left, but on top of that, I kind of like how they're not showing the UAC as actually being fully an evil company. Like, they have done some bad stuff.
Yeah.
But there is, you can, like, they're not the actual villains. Like, so that Phobos scene where you can walk through the base
Yeah.
They're all aware of you, but they stay out of your way. But then you can also like you can take a plasma rifle off of one of them, but like you're not their enemy, so it's like you can actually like work with them. And it actually gives you the feeling that you're actually saving humanity, where the previous one is you're essentially just getting out of that facility.
Yeah, like I guess in Doom 2016, it's sort of more about you could argue that it's as important to the Doomslayer to just like fight to survive as opposed to fight for humanity. Whereas in this one, it kind of feels like he's fighting not so much alongside, but he's doing what he's doing and humans are benefiting from it because he is human.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he's still going to go and like fuck everything up. But yeah, the fact that there could be like room for more characters and human characters and maybe some background plot arcs and things like that. It's still too early to say, but I think that would work without interfering with what makes Doom good. Aesthetically, I was annoyed like back when Doom 2016 trailers started coming out and I thought it didn't look like original Doom.
Yeah.
And as like an original fan, that kind of put me off like Doom 2016 at first until I played it. But this one looks like it's shaping up to be more like what I wanted 2016 to be like.
Yeah, I like how, I think we said we're watching the gameplay footage of this new one. Doom 2016 had full opportunity to take as much as they wanted from all the previous games and just shove it into that first game. But they had restraint in not putting everything in it. And so now there's the new opportunity with Doom Eternal is now there are so many things from the first two games put in it. And they look incredible in this new world. And it's good that there was a build up to them.
Yeah, I think Doom 2016 might have been not so much a practice run, but I think it was a good platform for them to learn how to make the game that Doom Eternal looks like it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think I will enjoy Doom Eternal more than Doom 2016. I think that it'll be closer to like a modern version of the older Doom games and the things that you love about that, you know, in one package. So hopefully that's how it turns out, and that's the vibe I'm getting from looking at this kind of gameplay footage.
Yeah. Like straight off the bat, it's got so many new environments that I actually like can't wait to play through.
Well, that's the other thing is if you're excited to get to that level or remember that bit and blah blah blah, like that's another thing that you know will keep you coming back to a game, or like a thing that'll drive you forward is you like the intrigue of seeing what a new area is like and what's different about it.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a lot more variance in areas and how they work in this game.
But also on top of the environments thing is Doom 2016 only had the options of the UAC facility, Hell, and Vega's level, which is in the snow. Where this is straight off the bat Hell on Earth, which looks fantastic. It's like John Carpenter's The Thing movie, just like vomited itself all over a whole city. Then the next scene they showed was Phobos, which is on a moon base.
And some of that open space stuff as well, like in, you know, views of planets like Mars from space, and then like the fact that, you know, cacodemons and things are flying around and they're obviously not affected by oxygen apparently, because they're all just like kicking around out in space and doing crazy shit.
Well, there could be some like Phobos has an atmosphere processor, because how does gravity work if they can fly? But also on top of that, they've pretty much confirmed you're going to heaven in this.
That is such a bizarre concept to like an old Doom fan. Like, of course, yeah, it makes sense when you think about if you're gonna play with the idea that there is a hell, there could be a heaven, but how does that fit into a game where like it's the exact opposite of what you're there for?
So I haven't delved into all the lore set up in Doom 2016. I've dabbled in it, but something that I think I watched in someone else's video one time is when you were in hell before you're woken up at the start of the game, you spent a lot of time in hell doing, obviously, murdering everything around you. Although I'm paraphrasing what I remember, but there's like a fallen angel in hell that you hooked up with, and they made that suit for you, the Praetor suit.
Yeah, it makes sense if you have like the heaven and hell thing where they would be technically on the Doomslayer's side because enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that kind of thing, as much as the Doomslayer is not really, you know, your average human being or like goes by any of that, but I guess because he's such a potent weapon, the forces of heaven, if you can call them that, in this new game, like I'd be really keen to see where they go with that. Yeah,
well, the environment they showed off in the QuakeCon video, they show like a room that's like completely white. Everything's got like sharp angles and like has this like complete technology vibe about it. The contrast of white and gold looking rooms and areas, I think that's playing into what heaven will look like in this universe, where hell is just obviously just grungy and gross.
Yeah, it's
just fallen castles and demon skeletons that are 100 feet tall that have fallen over and become a new temple. I think heaven is like a more order.
Yeah, it could be the comparison between order and chaos. That whole concept. The Hell on Earth parts of Doom Eternal that we've seen, it seems more like the invasion is in full swing, and it's more to do with what's going on there rather than, I don't know, things leading up to an invasion, which I guess is like a lot of previous Doom games from Doom 3 to Doom 2016 to like the original ones where things were breaking out and that's where the game started, whereas this one seems to be like halfway through.
Yeah, it's like they'd already overrun the UAC facility on Mars, and once you defeated all of them on Mars, does that mean Earth was being invaded at that time, and that's why there was more destruction going on the planet when we weren't there to stop it all?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions like that are left unanswered from the previous game, which I think they did intentionally for this purpose.
Well, that's the thing, is that game ends with you winning the day, and you clear out all of the vermin, and then Samuel Hayden's just like, I'm gonna get rid of you. I'm not gonna kill you, but until we meet again, and then you're teleported somewhere else, and now all footage from Doom Eternal is just nothing but intrigue. Like, what the hell has happened since then? My biggest question is, there's a shot of Samuel Hayden's robot body being observed by scientists, and it's like hanging on chains and stuff, but it's just the torso. So it's like, what happened there? Do we fight Samuel Hayden? Does someone else defeat Samuel Hayden? We have to like avenge his robot death.
I think that the fact that he appears at all in Doom Eternal, and the fact that he was the only surviving peripheral character, I guess, because Olivia Pierce died in 2016 Doom, right?
Oh, she turns into the Spider Mastermind.
Oh yeah, well, she's fucking gone. The point is that like Samuel Hayden being a character who his motivation seems to be to preserve like the work that they were doing or whatever the fuck UAC's up to.
Yeah, but he also understands that what they were doing was bad.
Yeah, but is he human though? Does he give a fuck, like, in the same moral sense that people do? He doesn't react emotionally, I don't think, compared to humans.
But yeah, that's just my biggest question is, are we the one that fight him?
I think because of the, like, can we bring up the fucking lightsaber? I'm just gonna call it that because, like, I don't know what it's called, like, actually in the game, and it's obviously a weapon that you get to use because, like, right when the Archvile shows up in the Doom Eternal footage that is available, yeah, like, he pulls it out, and didn't Samuel Hayden have that at the end of the last game?
Right, so that was the confusion I had, but that is not the crucible that you get at the end of the previous game.
How do you know that?
Because I know the blade looks the same, but I've looked at them both side by side. The crucible is like, it's got like a skull on it and like bone looking vertebrae and stuff on it. This has the Doomslayer's logo on it, and it's like an actual device that like opens up. But I know the blade looks the same as when Samuel Hayden turned it on at the end of the previous game.
So maybe it's a technological thing that they were trying to get from the first game, and then they managed to like recreate it, or maybe the one that the Doomslayer is using is specifically for him, that you find somewhere in the early,
definitely,
maybe not the early part, but somewhere in the game.
I just don't know if it's been converted into a lightsaber or if it actually is a lightsaber. They've clearly shown it as a lightsaber.
It's another thing that these games are doing better and better is incorporating like the melee aspect of the fighting, which the original games did very, very limitedly, probably because of the technology at the time. What I'm saying is, with this grappling hook thing that's on the
meat
fucking
hook.
Yeah, that thing on the shotgun, and if there is a melee lightsaber weapon, not to mention the blade on your left arm and your fucking predator flamethrower thing on your shoulder, like there's a lot of extra shit. So you've got like, I'm wondering how game mechanic wise those things play in. And I'm wondering how many different ways you've got to fuck things up in this one compared to the last game.
Oh, I just realized there was a video we didn't watch before we recorded this, where the predator cannon can shoot out like this ice beam that freezes the demons so they're frozen for a little bit, and then you can like smash them easier.
And that's, yeah, I think you were saying while we were watching it, like the customization options for this new game are going to be fucking over the top, I imagine, because you got to assume that they would build on the expansion of like the last game. Yeah. So there'd be more ways to upgrade the weapons you've got, and old ones and new ones.
One of my favorite aspects of looking at this new game is it literally looks like Ratchet and Clank for adults. To the point where there are so many comparisons you can make, and the first of all is the meat hook on the shotgun. It works exactly like the slingshot in Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Where instead of like hovering targets to like grapple onto, you can grapple onto any demon that's flying or standing, but like on a raised platform. So you can like just grapple around the entire level.
What did you call it? The dash? Or like...
Yeah, I think it's called dash.
It's just a really quick way to get out of the way of like enemy attacks, and it seems like you can do that in midair and things like that. So with the double jump and that, like, you're very free to move around, and that's where it started to make me feel like it's more like a platformer.
Yeah, it's a first-person platformer.
Yeah, with like a fuckload of things to kill, I guess. But
because it's one thing to have a first-person shooter where you can jump and then grab onto a ledge and climb up, but the shit you can do in this new, like, you're essentially Spider-Man as well.
Yeah,
where now you can crawl on walls.
I think they're making good use of the fact that you can use the space. So when they've made environments, there's ways to get around and to interact and fight in those places that are what they were aiming at, is putting a lot of variables in the combat and the gameplay, the way that it works, so that when you play the same area, it'll never be the same twice. Not only like the number of weapons and ways that you can do that, but the way you can move around and like how much your like movement affects your gameplay, and like whether or not you develop a style or like favorite like techniques to kind of like win.
I just realized it might make backtracking depressing, because when you're in a large environment, you've killed all the demons and then there's none left to grapple to higher ledges. You'll have to like climb your way up to the places you probably entered from now.
Yeah, there's
also so much environment changing, like those big red buttons, and you shoot them and they go green, but they can like unlock big like pendulums that come out of corners.
Oh yeah, that
looks
badass. Like the fact that you can kind of trigger traps on things that are already there. Like that's an aspect of the game that wasn't really there before, which I think could be really fun to play with. The whole point of Doom, and they keep reinforcing it in the things that they say on the Doom Eternal, gameplay reveals and stuff. They're like, you're the powerful one, you're the most badass one, and this is how you're gonna like. He's like, he even says like it is like the best power, not power trip, but some kind of power like play.
Power fantasy.
Yeah, power fantasy. That's what it is. It's just like you being the baddest motherfucker, destroying the baddest things.
Yeah, if you've ever wanted to be the most hands-on, violent god of all time, then play Doom Eternal and you can live it.
You'll get more game for your buck, I think, than Doom 2016. That's what I'm anticipating based on what I've seen.
Yeah, because it's kind of incredible when you look, obviously looking at all the previous Doom games up until 2016. Once they do things like, they introduce a double jump, they introduce grappling up to ledges so you can like actually scale high, like towers and stuff. You can just tell that in the 4 years since then, in developing, they're like, God, imagine if we could do this, or imagine if we could do that. And then like, you just picture how much brainstorming would have gone in from 2016 to now, and it shows. This does not look like a sequel where it's like, let's go to Earth then, and we'll have like some new guns.
I'm really glad that it's not suffering from Call of Duty-itis, where it's the same fucking game with like a different skin on it that
same
they
shit,
released.
different skin.
That they've just released like again like too soon just to get another game out and make money. It seems like they worked on it.
Doom Eternal almost looks like a different game.
It does. It's like, it almost seems like, again, I said it kind of like this before, but Doom 2016 was almost like their training wheels for this one. Or not training wheels, because that was a great game, but they learned a lot from that first one and managed to make it different enough, but also keep the parts that they worked out what worked and what didn't. Yeah. I feel like another important feature that kind of will add a bit of immersion, maybe I should say player satisfaction as well, is they were explaining in the reveal the areas on the demons that you shoot, and depending on what you do with them will, like, shooting guns at different places on the enemies will create different, like, visual effects. Like, that's pretty awesome.
It keeps the continuity of where you've shot a demon. Also, it shows you your progress, so you're not, like, offloading on a goddamn barren of hell going, am I close to beating this thing? Where you can actually, like, see the damage you've done and be like, alright, now I know how much there is to destroy.
All the old demon designs, or like references to the old original demon types, they like more heavily resemble the original games, but in a modern way. Like, that was one of the things that kind of put me off Doom 2016, is the way that the cyber demon looked. I'm like, it doesn't look like how Doom used to look. Until
you get to Doom Eternal, it's like, there's a cyber demon.
Yeah, and that one looks the way that they used to, and the same deal with, like, even the imps with, like, the spikes on their back, like, they just look more like...
It's like they're evolving, like, they're getting more spikes. But now, at first I was kind of like, but the previous game had the cyber demon, they're doing it again, but it just looks like the original. It's like, no. Now we can have many cyber demons.
Yeah.
Like, all it takes is a demon that's 30 feet fucking tall.
This is what I wanted.
With robot limbs, and there you go.
I didn't want the cyber demon to be a boss, because they kind of played the role of a boss in the original games, but then they would just fucking turn up in random levels, and usually to be like in close quarters, because the first thing it's going to do is fire a rocket at you, and that was like something that you had to be afraid of, or like something you had to contend with. And I don't want there to be no enemy that the Doomslayer isn't challenged by, isn't challenged by. Like, there needs to be something that can fuck you up pretty bad, and you're gonna like be looking out for it. I think that's an important part of the game, so that it's just like there is that difficulty, like, oh fuck, here comes one of those, now I've got to deal with that.
So it's like if you could somehow incorporate the boss battle in the full level, where maybe you get away from the cyber demon, then it comes and finds you at a later point that where you're not expecting. The whole game in itself is really fun and challenging, but all the boss battles are like Crash Bandicoot.
You're right.
Like
they give you like a way, or like various ways to beat the boss within like a set arena, and there might be other monsters like affecting what's going on, but it's like clearly like a boss battle.
Yeah.
And I don't really prefer that with Doom. I prefer that you just trip over stuff that's really difficult. Just quickly, back to the callbacks to the older demon designs, like the Archvile. For people that have played the original games, you get a little bit of a chub when you see that in Doom Eternal, because like those things were fucking pain in the ass. They can resurrect enemies, they can attack you from across as long as they've got line of sight on you, they can't attack instantly, but they do like huge amounts of damage, and they revive things, they move really quickly. They're a fucking pain in the ass to deal with. And like bringing back some of the more iconic but not so much touched on, or maybe not fleshed out demons in 2016, as in they didn't quite get around to every classic Doom enemy, not to mention all the new enemies that we've seen in this one. And like that's going to be interesting as well to see how they play out. Like aesthetically they can kind of be whatever because they're new, but like how they impact the gameplay and what they bring to it is just completely open at this stage. Because
like they show the cyber demon again in this new game, you're like, okay, cyber demon's back, but there's like all these other characters. There's the Marauder, which is a demon that it's like it's wearing the Doomslayer's outfit.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to play into what I was talking about before, where that fallen angel you work with in hell that makes you your suit. So I think like the suit you wear is like a certain type of technology, and now like a new demon can actually like manufacture their own, kind of like an anti-Doom Slayer. But there's also new stuff like the arch enemy of the Slayer. I can't remember if they gave it a name, but it's just like a demon with a bazooka on its hand, but it's like lower torsos or hovercraft.
Okay. Other enemies that seem to have made a reprisal is like the Pain Elementals. They were a pretty interesting enemy in the original games because they didn't attack you at all, but they would create lost souls, and they would create an infinite number of lost souls, which would just fucking come at you, which like, I'm not saying I'm hoping for that for this game, but like
because nobody likes lost souls.
No, but that's the thing, like they're there to piss you off, I guess, in the sense that like they're there to keep you on your toes and look around like to see what's coming.
So the scene where he pulls out the lightsaber, I'm calling it. That's not how it plays out.
It could be a bit of trailer magic. I don't know.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that when it'll play out where the Archvile walks out, and when he raises its arms up, I bet the camera will then pan around, and you'll see everything you just shot come back.
Yeah, but I reckon the reveal that the Archvile does that would probably have something to do with the fact that it brings back the things that you've killed.
It definitely got the setup for it. It gets its own like little cutscene of it walking out, showing that this thing, it's not your typical summoner.
Oh, here's another like kind of smaller detail like that old fans of the games would notice. As much as it might annoy some people, like every time you get hit in the new Doom Eternal, you make a noise.
Oh, you grunt now.
Yeah, you grunt, and like
I love that.
It's a small detail, but it's something that we like got used to, is like the sounds of like when you're getting like hit. And let's not forget that, unfortunately, that the game was pushed back for however many months. Like, what was it, 3 months? Back to March?
Yeah.
So, like, that sucks, but it means that they're probably working on something.
Because, like, as we're
fixing some things,
As we've just been discussing, this is like a massive, completely different game than what just came out. So, it will be worth it in the long run, because this, does not look like a generic sequel game. This looks like a whole different animal in itself.
It's almost surprising when when like whether it be a filmmaker or a game maker or your favorite musician or something like releases something and it's like really good and really different, and you're like, fuck, there's new awesome content coming out still in this day and age. It isn't just a copy of shit that's come before.
Yeah, that's
pretty inspiring when you realize that there's someone's taking the time to work on something to make it great, as opposed to just making it something they can sell. And I get the feeling that they're trying to get this one right.
Yeah, I think it's a case where they know exactly what this game requires to be finished and be the best it can be. Delaying it so they can work on it more is all for the best. This isn't a situation of they have to postpone Sonic the Hedgehog to redesign him to look terrible. and then the visual effects company that had to do the redesign has now filed for bankruptcy and shut down. It's not going to be like that. And I think on that note, this is... I don't know how much we can speculate. I think we're...
Yeah, that's most of it, I guess.
Yeah, it just looks like such a fun game, and I just cannot wait to play it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to buy it as soon as it comes out.
I've already pre-ordered it with the helmet. Alright, well that's all we've got to discuss about Doom Eternal.
Hope you've enjoyed our thoughts and maybe we've said some things that you didn't think of or whatever.
Yeah, drop a comment, let us know what you're excited about or details we didn't even think of that they've teased. And yeah, thanks for joining us for Doom Eternal speculation. Also, thanks for joining us for Doomsmas 2 if you've been following all the videos of this month. And stay tuned for something exciting that's coming very soon. Goodbye!
Bye!